Time now for Coming In Hot with Brent Wallace and former Ottawa Senator Jason York.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to Coming In Hot. Brent Wallace alongside Jason York, who's still wearing his Speedo from the beach in Florida.
You know it, Wally. Oh, yeah. Shave the legs for that too, right? Because the Speedo's high and tight.
Big show today, by the way, as we get underway. This show probably brought to you by Bet365. Open an account today. The interesting part about today, Brian McGrattan's on the show, which I'm super pumped about. One is because of the career he had in Ottawa, which made him one of the most feared people on the ice. Two, he was part of the whole Spetsy Heatley Alfie time here in Ottawa. So I want to get his thoughts on that as they get set for they're not in the Ring of Honor, to be honored next a week from today. But a big win last night in San Jose, as Charlie correctly predicted.
All three of us were right on the money, Wally, with decisive Ottawa selections, and it was close. So they've made it interesting. But you know, this was, you and I were just talking about this before we came on camera here. Ottawa needed a game where your goalie stole one, and that's exactly what happened. They got some timely goals, some big plays at big moments, but was it one shot only? Maybe another shot they didn't count in the third period, but that
nope, it was one.
Just one. Nope, it was one. So I'm not even gonna bother trying to explain what happened to the Senators, why they played not so well against the Sharks. But bottom line, a lot of question marks about Linus Ullmark. He stepped up in a huge fashion, especially late in that game. While he made some big saves at key times, and it's amazing what happens, right? You make a big save, and all of a sudden you go down the other end, and Ottawa gets a big goal. But no, there's still some. I'm still seeing obviously lots of mistakes that they'd like back, but there's some things I'm seeing in their game that I like, that I didn't necessarily see in the past. I like how they're getting on top of pucks more. And what I mean by that, and I tweeted this out today in one of my Yorkie vids, that winning goal that Adam Gaudette got, that was caused because Brady Tkachuk back-checked or back-pressured through the middle and got on top of the Sharks forwards. And by doing that, when the puck's turned over, you're in great defensive position. Right. And it ended up turning into an offensive chance. But that doesn't happen unless Tkachuk gets on top of the puck and back checks, which, you know, we're seeing some good things. It's just, hey, 2 in a row. Let's see if they can keep going against LA.
I know we make a big deal about the shots on goal, but I mean, I'm watching the game and I'm not like, they're not being caved in, if you will. No. There's shots. I didn't think there was a ton of inside chances. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe it was really late at night and I wasn't paying attention. But like, I just thought that they just played a game where, they got outshot, but I didn't think they were terribly outplayed. But maybe I'm wrong.
Sometimes the shots aren't indicative of what's actually going on the ice. I would say they still made some mistakes. There's still some mental errors going on. But there's been some nights this year where the team's played pretty well and they've lost because didn't get a key save, didn't score at a key time. And that is the key to winning in the NHL. There's times at the game where you need a timely goal and a timely save. They weren't getting that during that losing skid, and now they got that last night. And it's you know what? Take the win. It's like you say, it's like a robber, eh? Take the 2 points. Take the 2 points and get out of town. Start the car, boys. Let's get out of here. We used to say that after wins, Wally. If we had a game like that, wherever I was playing, we'd get in the room. Somebody would yell, "Start up the bus. Let's get out of here before they get us, before they're on to us."
So true.
But it's true. Hey, that's the NHL.
Gratz is supposed to join us in about 10 minutes. Here's the question, because today's American Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving to all our American viewers. In fact, one of our winners yesterday for a bobblehead is from Virginia. So anyway, thank you to all of you who are watching faithfully. We said all along, Yorkie, that if you're not in a playoff spot by Thanksgiving, it's not likely to happen. I will say this year feels a little different, however. And Ottawa sits on the outside of a playoff spot at the moment, they're 3 points out. I don't feel as confident that Boston, Tampa, even the Rangers right now, because of it seems that there's not a lot of happy people and they're looking to move people around. So I don't think it's as slammed shut, if you will, on getting a playoff spot right at the moment. And if they win by the chance on Saturday against LA, they're 1 point out, if you will.
Yeah, well, that's why, like, when we talked about this a couple shows ago, we said that it was really essential they won that last game before heading out on the road, because the road trip, if you map it out on paper, you've basically got 3 winnable games. And now they've got 2. They got the one before. Now they just got to win 2 more. Win these last 2, and sure, the Thanksgiving thing is, people like to talk about that. Yeah, but it's not 100% guaranteed if you're not in a playoff spot. It's just statistics show it's much harder, which I agree with. But it just seems like there's a bunch of teams that are in that murky middle still, and you're only 3 points back in Tampa for that last spot. So to me, there's lots of racetrack left. I love the fact that the goaltender, Linus Ullmark, stepped up in a big fashion, because we had this discussion yesterday. We weren't even sure who was going to be starting. Like, they could have went back to Forsberg, but it's just, to me, it's a great sign that you're the guy you went out and got, the guy that all the pressure is on, went out and had himself a night, and they won largely because of him.
And then he gets to start now for LA, obviously, and then Forsberg goes against Anaheim, which is what it should have probably always been set up that way.
Yeah, it probably makes sense that way, Wally.
Although I will say, looking at their D last night, they need help on the blue line.
Well, I would have to think. My intuition tells me they'd be probably looking for a defenseman right now. If you could go find one, that would go a long way, just to cleaning up some of those issues that you're seeing from time to time happen in their own zone. So, what's the report on Zoom? Like, probably a month.
It's probably 4 to 6 with a broken foot. Yeah,
6 weeks. 6 weeks. So we'll see what happens. It's easier said than done. Like, it's so hard right now at this time of year. Like, get in line if you're looking for a defenseman.
I know. You're gonna have to probably part. Well, you do have to part with something because you need the cap room. I would think you're gonna have to part with a piece that you don't really want to. But if it makes the only issue, if it makes your team better, then you make the move, right?
100%. And if you've listened, if you've read between the lines every time Steve Staios speaks, that's exactly what he says. Hey, I'm always looking. I'm always open for business. You've heard him say that, and I believe him. Like, he's going. If something's out there that he thinks can make this team better, especially a defenseman, in my opinion, he'll do it.
We'll wait and see how that plays out. And you know what? It's funny. We talked about before the last show. If I was going to bring up the Sens were dead last in the league, tied for last with Chicago with their D scoring 3 goals so far this season. Tyler Kleven gets his first NHL goal with it's a sweet goal too. I mean, he's a clapper he gets a pass from Claude Giroux. Congrats to him. You could see everybody excited. They need more offense, I think, from their blue line. I know you kind of disagree with me. I just think
I don't. I don't. I do. Like, listen, like the league is so tough now. Everybody back pressures so hard. Right. So when you back pressure that hard, you need that second wave, and that's the way it works. Is your offside defenseman, you usually want him joining the rush, getting up there, joining the attack. So no, for sure, like it would be nice for Sanderson, for Shabbat, now Jensen's chipped in a little bit, but that's how you win in this league. Everybody, they've been getting scoring from their top guys, and Gaudette. They need more from, like, Pinto's got to get going. Ridley Gregg's got to get going.
Yep.
When David Perron gets back in the lineup, he needs to get going. All those secondary scorers need to get going along with the defenseman. That will go a long ways, because you're going to have nights where Timmy Stützle doesn't get 3 assists. Like, it's just, those nights are going to happen. He was good last night too, wasn't he? Like, he's just. Did you? So. And here's the plays I'm liking. Sure, like the skill, the puck possession, but the second effort on that Josh Norris goal, Wally, to number one, dive down and win the race to the loose puck, and then to shield off 2 guys and keep it going. Like, that's like a Crosby type, shield the puck, take the hit, make the play. Like, that's a skill plus physicality play, which is really nice to see. Like, that just goes to show. We talked about him the other day. Like, he's not the player he's going to be yet, but he's adding layers to his game as the days go by. Like, he's a young guy. People forget that. Like, he talks, like, he'll make some mistakes, he'll do some things, but he's learning. Like he's learning, he's getting better, and I'm seeing a young player. He's doing things like that play in particular. Like we didn't see that before.
Well, maybe it's because Adam Gaudette's his winger, and Adam Gaudette's making everybody around him better.
Maybe. Like, is there a guy in the league that's scoring more per minutes played? I think we had him at number 2 right now behind Ovi.
I think Ovi was goals per 60 was number 1.
I think he passed him last night though with 2. He's probably first.
11 goals, 21 games, averaging 10 minutes and 26 seconds. By far the best value contract, I would think, at the moment.
He's on a 2-way. It's of course. He's got
775. Like,
hopefully you signed a 1-year. You signed a 1-year deal, right?
1 year, 775. Yeah.
Oh boy. Oh,
31 shots, 11 goals.
It's insane. And those, like, that was real nice hand-eye on that winning goal. Like to redirect like that tells you something. So, and I like how he's handling it. You know what? I have high expectations of myself. I believe in myself, and then you throw in, yep, just here to help the team. It's just perfect. It's just perfectly put.
We will have as giveaway week continues, we will have a trivia question for a coming in hot hoodie coming up. I'm not sure with the postal strike if that affects anything. I will get back to you on that. As of right, yeah. I
got to tell you, do you have a read? Yeah, I thought you were going to go into a read or something.
I am.
Okay, go ahead.
This show proudly presented to you by Charm Diamond Centers. Proudly Canadian owned and operated since 1972 with more than 85 locations across the country. Through Charm and their sister brands, get custom ring building delivered in less than 4 weeks with a Charm Masterpiece program, an unbeatable pricing policy. Check out a large selection of Canadian lab-grown diamonds, mine diamonds, and don't pay until 2025 if you're thinking of, by the way, of Valentine's Day, with their instant in-store financing on approved credit. For more information, go to charmdiamondcenters.com. Chosen forever, Charm Diamond Centers.
Look at those pipes. Wow, it gets better every show. It's actually kind of like you got a little Barry White vibe going on. Well, you got some soul. That's from your church choir days, right there. Oh boy. Hey, listen. I got to tell you, I'm in Florida right now. I'm in Fort Lauderdale. So you're never gonna guess who I ran into. And this is another example of the Good Guy Club never sleeps.
Oh God!
The Good Guy Club never sleeps because you never know who you're going to run into in your travels. So, do we got the video, Jake? We got the video. A special guest. He loves the show. Never misses an episode. Just in Florida. Guess who I ran into? Roll the video, Jake. This is great stuff. You just never know who's going to show up in Florida when you're down on vacation. Look at this. Prospective member for the Good Guy Club. You know what? Let's just get him in right now. I don't even think you need an application. Kyle Bukauskas.
I don't want to jump any lines here, but it's just I was listening to the Coming in Hot podcast with Jason York, and I heard that he was down in Florida, and it was a no-brainer. Of course I'm going to reach out to Jason.
That's how it works, right?
That's how it works.
That's how it works. Talk about good guys.
No ulterior motive.
How about Private Eye Dick Valente?
Richard Valente.
You know what? That's how the Good Guy Club works. You come, you have some fun, you play some pickleball, and enjoy the day. Kyle, were you heading off to Tampa?
Off to Tampa, a little podcasting of my own before that.
Oh, little pump for the 32 Thoughts?
No, not to pump it, but
I love it.
We get both sides of Florida here between Fort Lauderdale and Tampa.
All right, Kyle, you're leaving a winner too, as you and I just took down Laurel and Nikki. Oh, it was a beatdown.
That was a heck of a match.
All right, Kyle. Hey, always a good guy. Great to see you. Oh, he's one of the best. Wow. Wally. I love that.
That's funny. You know what? Because I asked him to come on the show on Wednesday, and he's like, I can't. I'm traveling. I'm going to Florida, and I thought he said Tampa, so it didn't even occur to me.
What's going on? It seems you told me you've been asking Gratz for like 2 years.
I got to find out when he comes on.
We're gonna have to get to the bottom of this because I've kind of got to know Gratz the last couple months doing some charity hockey events. And I just sent him a text, and within 10 minutes, he's like, "Yeah, sure, I'll come on."
I'm pretty sure that I've asked if we had the same number, and you said yes. So I'm gonna.
We'll have to ask Gratz when he comes on. Like Wally, it's like, is something going on? Did you accidentally block his number? Very suspicious. Very suspicious.
Never heard of that guy. I gotta see what's going on.
Oh boy, yeah. Kyle's good people.
Before we get into the coming up this weekend, Black Friday is here with everything. The Nation Gear has also Black Friday special, so 15% off on Black Friday for Nation Gear stuff. Go to nationgear.ca, peruse all they have to offer, including the coming in hot merchandise. And if you order $200 or more, they throw in free shipping. So it's a win-win.
Did you catch Kyle, by the way, coming in hot with Jason York?
Yeah, I did.
Kyle, just a shot across the bow there, right? Cool.
I'm not sure what. Yeah, I'm gonna have to talk to him about this.
Yeah,
I've house sat the dog. Like,
you've had the dog over
for a weekend. Yeah.
Oh boy. Good on you, Wally. See, you're taking steps in the right direction. You keep up that work. You keep doing those good deeds, and good things will happen.
There's a lot of stuff you don't know. Okay.
All right.
Quickly before Gratz gets here, we'll take care of some business so we don't get in trouble.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, thanks again to
what
BEI.
You'll make up today.
Yeah, it's always great when we talk about BEI. Give them a call, Wally, at 613-432-1120 for all your equipment rentals, aggregate, topsoil, custom crushing, and screening needs, as well as hot mix paving. They can take care of that for you too. You can also get them at onisherexcavating.com on the web. BEI is helping to shape the Ottawa Valley, and please remember to slow down in construction zones.
And of course, Bet365, which is our proud presenting sponsor of Coming in Hot. Open an account today with Bet365. Bet on a huge range of markets. So whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Use code NATION. I must be 19 years of age or older. Please play responsibly. Download the app today. By the way, I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about this. I was talking to the owner of BEI the other day. We were just having a chat. And he told me, because I was asking weird questions, they have 96 or 98 pickup trucks. That's just the pickup trucks they have in their fleet. I'm like, oh my God, how big is the business? And why don't you give me more money? He hung up the phone.
Oh boy.
Did I discuss that it was the fourth time that the Sens have allowed 11 or have had 11 or fewer shots on goal? And they won the last two of those goal games, by the way.
It's crazy. It's absolute. You know what? Like I said, games like that, get out of Dodge, take the 2 points and run. I think Gratz is waiting for us, Wally.
Okay, I got questions for this fine gentleman, because now he can't be. We're on video chat, so he can't get mad at me like he may have previously in the locker room. Brian McGrattan, sir, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, how are you?
Gratz. Well, he's been bitching and complaining that he's been trying to get you for 2 years. I'm like, I just texted you, and you're like, sure, I'll come on the show. Pretty easy, right?
Yeah.
Have you not gotten my text messages?
I don't know. I don't know. When would you have texted me?
I have tried to text you for 2 years.
Must be the wrong number. You must have the wrong number. Gratz in the good guy club too, Wally. He's a card carrying member in the good guy. Good guys stick together.
When you, by the way, I know you play a lot of charity hockey now with Yorkie. Do you have every once in a while some guy try to challenge you at all?
No, never.
Okay.
No, not. That's why I play in those, either tournaments or charity games or alumni games. No men's hockey or senior A. I don't feel like getting thrown in jail.
There's only been one incident, Gratz. Were you at the event we had in Ottawa?
No, Brockville last year.
Okay, so we did it. Yeah. We did a hockey helps the homeless in Ottawa, and there was a minor incident involving Andre Waugh where he got a little bit upset and might have challenged the bench, and then he
apologized after.
He apologized after. It was all good. Some guy hit him hard, and he just sometimes you just snap. But yeah, you know how it is,
all the time, especially in that stuff, because the guys get chippy and that. But I have been fortunately very lucky.
Oh God, Andre's a beauty, isn't he?
The best. He's the best.
Yeah.
Before we get into all the stuff I want to talk to you mostly about the Ottawa Senators stuff. What are you up to now?
Well, I'm back east. Stay connected with the hockey world, the NHL world, doing charity events and alumni events. Transitioned into commercial insurance 3 years ago, so I do that. Kind of mix that in with everything else going on in my life. So, yeah, been good.
You're busy.
Been good, yeah.
Okay. I have a lot of pictures I want to show you as we go through perhaps your career.
Before we get into that, I want to ask him. There's Gratz, are you going to come into town for the pizza line reunion? Because I know you're tight.
Yeah, I whatever events were forwarded to us on the Sens alumni email, I committed to maybe 4 or 5 of them. So I don't know offhand which ones they were yet.
Right on.
Wow. So what do you think of the reunion of those 3? I know you and Spets are super close, or at least you were.
Yeah. So what is it? Like, what's the reunion?
So on next Thursday, they're just gonna, I think, honor them. I don't believe they're going into the Ring of Honor, but they are going to honor them somehow within the organization.
Who's Spez?
Heater's coming back to town.
Oh,
Heater's coming to town.
Oh yeah, I didn't hear anything about that. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah. So Heater's coming back.
Yeah.
Heater's coming back first time, long time.
Yeah, that's great.
It's always good though, Gratz. Like after time goes by, like I'm a big believer in this. You got to honor your past, especially a guy that scored 50 goals twice. Like I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, sports are sports, and the way things are at the time. Hey, man, it's been a long time since, but those guys are arguably the most dominant line in the history of that organization.
Oh my God, not even close.
We had the pizza nights there, and they had to stop doing the pizza night at 7 goals. Remember that? They had to stop doing it.
Yeah, they're like, this isn't going to work, guys.
Yeah.
You played at the height of that. Like, what was it like watching those 3 do their magic on the ice?
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, being a rookie and coming in and being on those teams, especially those 2 years, the year we went to the Cup final, I thought we had a better team the year before. We lost in the second round of Buffalo. Yeah. But coming in as a rookie and being able to make that lineup and play with some of the players that were on that team, and especially those 3 guys, they were so dominant for 2 or 3 years. And to kind of have a front row seat per game to watch that was pretty awesome.
Hey, Gratz, sorry, go ahead, Wally.
I was going to say, you were used to Jason Spezza. He set you up in junior.
Yeah, like we played together in junior and in the minors. So I got to play with Spez for a large portion of my career and kind of watch him at every stage.
I looked at your
20 goal scorer.
Yeah, you had 21 and 31 games in junior. Like, those are pretty good friggin' numbers.
And then I tore my ACL, MCL, meniscus, and missed like a year.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what happened? Yes, because I was trying to figure out.
Yeah, I tore it right around this time. I think it was either a New Year's game or a New Year's Eve game, and I caught a rut and I got hit, and my leg stayed there, and my body went the other way, and that was it. That was it for that year, and partially next.
God.
Yeah.
Okay, the Ty Domi fight, is that the fight that put you on the map?
Yeah, I would say so. Obviously, yeah. I mean, at the time, I was still living at the hotel. There were a handful of us there that were, I would say, borderline making the team, and I think that fight was somewhere within my first 10 games, and that was I think that's the moment that maybe cemented my role as an enforcer, maybe even a top guy for the years to come, was beating him. And then with, just the rivalry that the teams had leading up to that with previous years before of, Toronto with the team that they had and, how soft those Sens teams were. The Sens teams were better, but they were way softer. And And with Shane Corson, Ty Domi, Wade Belak, I mean, you can go down the list on the hard-nosed players that they had: Darcy Tucker,
Gary Roberts,
and Gary Roberts. I mean,
Joe
and
Newendijk.
and then just beating Ty there, and it was a pretty decisive win on the score sheet too. I think we beat them either 7 or 8-0 too.
8-0.
And so we beat them 8-0, and then I beat Ty, and I was more or less just pumped to fight him. Like, I grew up a diehard Leaf fan, and Ty Domi was one of my favorite Leafs. and being able to fight him against my childhood team in Toronto, and pretty decisive win. I mean, fighting's not all about winning or losing, but when you beat a guy of Ty's stature and the history he's had as a named enforcer throughout the years, it's a pretty big moment for our team and the Ottawa organization, knowing that they were not going to get pushed around by those guys anymore, to kind of turn the tide against. I don't think those guys beat us that year, and I don't think they beat us that year, and I think they missed the playoffs by 1 point. So had they have got a point or one win against us, they would have made the playoffs.
Wow.
So
yeah. Hey, Gratz, what was it like? You're like 6'5", Ty's about, I don't know, 5'10", but obviously very strong. What's it like when you're fighting a guy that much? Like, you change your style, like when you're
not
fighting
really, not really, especially with the smaller guys, because they kind of want you to fight like them, right? And they want you to get nice and tight and stuff. And I knew how Ty fought. I was had a 15 fight tapes as a kid growing up with me. My buddies used to watch them all the time, so I've known how Ty's fought for about 15 years. He's small and he likes to get inside. He loves to spin guys, get guys off balance. So I knew that was coming. So there's a bunch of things that I practiced leading up to that. And one was, I knew he was going to tie me up, and I was working on getting my elbow and my arm outside of my jersey, in which I did. So I knew he was going to try and tie me up inside, and he did. And that's when the jerseys were a bit bigger. They're a little looser than what they are now. And you were able to get your arm out of the sleeve. So I just, in one motion, I pulled my arm back out of the sleeve and came across to the right. And so it was a bit of the art of that role, is studying guys and being able to find different techniques on how to beat guys of all different sizes.
So did you do that with a lot of guys? Like, when you were preparing for games, Gratz, would you watch video on guys?
No, I would just more, as the years went on, the video got better, right? Because I came into an era where there was no YouTube. There was, all that stuff was just starting to come, right? And, throughout the years, as the online stuff got better and the tapes got better, and you can watch, you can just go on any kind of streaming site and watch them. Yeah, I would,
The next day after the Ty Domi fight, you got some pretty big news, if I'm not mistaken.
That was the letter that was back, and I don't know if they still do it, but that was back in the day when you got a letter, to get your housing letter or whatever to get a place, and it was in my little cubby hole the next morning.
That's pretty cool.
So
that's how they told you. They put it in your cubby hole.
That's how I knew. That's how I knew my days at the hotel at that Holiday Inn in Canada were over.
That's crazy. I remember when I was a rookie and they actually came and told me. I never knew guys got a little piece in the cubby hole. That's funny.
Oh
God.
Okay, what was the rivalry like from your point of view with the Leafs? Because back then it was the great rivalry, right? It was something you never knew what was going to happen, but it always you guys became a focal point.
Yeah, we did, obviously, and then we were the better team too, right? We were one of the best teams in the league, and we used to kick their ass every time we played them. To be honest, we did, and the tides kind of shifted, between the two teams. Where Ottawa, the years I were there, had always had the better team, and that rivalry. I don't know how it is now. I mean, but when I was there, it was pretty hot. It was good. I think we had a bigger one with Buffalo than those guys, because Buffalo had a better team. Us and Buffalo were the two of the best top 5 teams in the league for the time I was in Ottawa.
Yep.
Right.
Well, that, and you fought Andrew Peters every day.
Every day in the minors, junior, everywhere. Surprised I haven't fought him. Surprised I haven't fought him on the street yet. That's the only place I haven't fought him.
Because he's your first official NHL fight regular season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so. I think that one was maybe that was in my first I dressed most of the games to start the year too, so that was within my first 3, 4, 5 games, and I think Ty was within the first 10. But
I think it's game 2, home to Buffalo, another 5-0 win. Have you ever spoken to Andrew Peters away from the rink? Do you guys get along?
You know what? Like I think him and Rob Ray do a show in Buffalo. I think.
Yes.
A radio show, and I went on it a handful of years. I went on it post retirement. I went on with those guys, but I haven't seen them. I haven't bumped into them or anything. So
is it awkward? Like meeting people?
No, not really. No, got become friends with a lot of guys like Colton Orr, George Peros, Todd Fedoruk, Derek Goddard. I consider all those guys friends.
All those guys, they were in Ice Guardians because I watched it again this morning.
Oh yeah. A lot of the guys in that film, and then getting to, been kind of on the tour here the last couple of years doing, charity events and charity tournaments, kind of coast to coast. So you're always bumping into guys, from different eras that did that role, guys that were played in the time that I played. So, yeah.
You have one Gordie Howe hat trick in your career, a member of the Flames. Where does that rank in moments for you?
I mean, that was it's up there. I would put a lot of my fights before that, to be honest. First goal, first game, but being able to do that, I think my highlight goal is scoring from center ice in Vancouver because I don't think anybody has done that there.
I've seen that video on Eddie Lack.
I mean, I don't think anybody in the history of that rink has scored from center ice there. So, I mean,
yeah, that's pretty good.
But so we do. So we did that, and that was the game after they traded Luongo, and the boos were coming down hard on them, and we played Van like 2 weeks later, and I got the puck at center ice and I shot it on him. I was skating by the net, and he's like, "You asshole."
Scratch. So speaking of Vancouver, you were involved in that crazy game, with the brawl and the coaches.
Well, I orchestrated that one, and
explain that to me.
We were on like an 8 or 9 game losing streak, and we played. It was at the tail end of we did the California swing, and then we were hitting Vancouver on the way back home. And Bob just pulled us in the office and said, none of those guys deserve to start in there tonight. You guys haven't started all year. I think our line had 2 goals in San Jose the night before, the game before. And he's like, you guys play hard every shift, every game. You do whatever is asked of you, and you guys are going to start the game tonight. And so after that, just kind of pulled everybody aside and said, boys, who cares if we lose 10? Let's go out there and just beat the shit out of these guys. I'm like, we kind of went through who was going to fight who. Obviously, I was going to fight Sestito, and we're lining guys up to fight, and said, the goalies, you guys can do what you want. and Torts blew a gasket on the fact that he thought if he put the Sedins out there, we were going to do that. I've never touched a player like that in my life. And out of respect for highly skilled players, you don't do that. We would have just waited to the next shift. I don't know, 3 minutes or 4 minutes in to fight those guys. It was kind of better that he started them. But then, so after all that happened, my gloves hit the ice first. So technically I was the first fight. Everybody else got kicked out. And then after the period, I was like the second guy off the ice, and I heard all this screaming and yelling because Torts isn't that big of a guy, right? And I looked down, and Torts is going nuts. He wanted to kill Bob. All the assistant coaches are there, just kind of blocking everybody off. But the hallway stuff and all that was not part of the plan.
Then you became like the bouncer, making sure everything.
Clint Malarchuk came in there head first about 2 minutes in and tried to get at everybody. And I had him in a headlock, and it got a little crazy in that hallway.
Oh my god!
You talk about how the Hockey Night camera may have saved carnage.
Did you ever spoke with Torts off the ice after that?
You know what? I have not bumped into him. I've never, other than playing them the handful of times after that, I've never even met him. I've never met him before, other than that little meeting in the hallway.
Yeah, because I hear everybody talks about Torts. I hear players respect him because he's honest. He just tells it out.
Yeah, I think I would love to play for a guy like John Tortorella. But I think I would love to play for a guy like that, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
who's your favorite coach that you played for?
I like Barry Trotz. I like Brian Murray. Brian Murray gave me my first shot in Ottawa, and I love Brian. Barry Trotz was awesome.
Yeah, good man, Gratz. He's
yeah,
a great man.
Great guy, great man, great guy off the ice. I played for Brent, Sutter, in Calgary. Played under Daryl was the GM, so I was around Daryl a couple times. So I've been fortunate to play with, and I played for Wayne Gretzky in Phoenix.
You had 5
years,
I think. Yeah.
So
How was that?
He was the coach. Grant Fuhr was our goalie coach. kind of cool, man, being around those guys. So hockey has led me to some pretty cool experiences, being around some variety of different coaches, players, cities, all that stuff.
What was Brian like to you? Because Brian liked a good physical hockey.
Yeah, Brian loved that. And so did John Paddock, who was our assistant coach and my coach for 3 years in the minors. And that was, those guys loved that old school hard mentality and, respected players that would bring it and play hard and tough every night. And those guys had a soft spot for guys like that were team committed and willing to kind of do anything for the team to win. So, a guy like me would never have a problem with guys like that. Come in, work hard, keep your mouth shut.
Oh, yeah. So people are always asking this. They all want to know, people in our chat, your era guys, toughest guys that you came across and fought with.
Yeah, because I always get asked that on toughest guys. And York, you played for a long time, and anybody in that position, you're the toughest. It doesn't matter who you are, what team you are. If you are the heavyweight enforcer on your team, you're one of the toughest guys in this sport. But there were guys that I struggled against. Derek Bugard buckled me 3 times, and I could just not get at him.
So big, eh?
Big. Yeah. I had a challenging time against him. I had, obviously with Andrew Peters, I fought Wade Belak quite a bit. Eric Goddard, I think I fought 4 or 5 times. I only fought Ty once. Out west, we battled the Edmonton guys with Steve McIntyre and Luke Gadzik. George Peros was in Anaheim, so I was always kind of wound up in his division too. But yeah, there were guys that I struggled against, and there was one who was Derek Bugard, and that was the big right hand. I could just never get out of the way of it.
Were there games you went into where you just didn't want to go that day?
You know what, man? It's not wanting to go; it's being tired from it. Yeah. And those are the days that you have to be 10 times more sharp, because at the end of the day, I became the guy, and I became the guy that everybody wanted, and I had to be on every game, and that's where it got hard, and that's where it got tiring, because if you have an off day,
you can't lose, right?
You can get seriously hurt.
Yeah.
And that's where it became tough. Because at the end of the day, when I became one of the top guys, or the top guy, I was in my 30s. 30. We've been fighting for 10 or 12 years, 30 times a year already. So that's where it got hard. And the mental side of it and the focus side really kind of had to take over on how I would prepare for fights, how I would mentally prepare, physically prepare. It's not like today. I mean, the guys that do it now, it's like, holy man. I mean, they should just get rid of it, because it's embarrassing to watch. It really is. The fights that happen now, and the reason they should get rid of it is the dangers of it, because the guys that are doing it now, they don't know what they're doing. They have no idea what they're doing. Their balance is off. And someone's gonna get very seriously injured by falling. These guys are all like Bambi. And someone's gonna hit their head, and it's gonna be I mean, it's had its time, it's had its special place in the game. I think moving, I can't see that role being in the game much longer. I mean, to be honest.
Well, you really look at it now, Gratz, like there's really not that fear in the game anymore.
There's not, and at the end of the day, you know what? You're all big boys. Can't take a hit, don't play. What are you scared about a guy making a big hit? And I'm with that. I think if you fight, if there's a big hit, and you chase the guy and fight him, I think that should be a suspension. I think that takes away from the game. It drives me nuts.
Yeah.
If you have your head down and you get cranked, and someone chases that guy and fights him, I think there's nothing more that takes away from hockey than that. It drives me nuts.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah. So,
do you find a lot of guys have their heads down now compared to when you played?
You know what, man? I don't watch a lot of hockey. I watch a lot of 9-year-old hockey. My little guy plays. I'm at the rink 4 to 5 days a week watching him. But in NHL games, to be honest, I don't watch a whole lot. I might. I went to a Vancouver Calgary game about 3 weeks ago. I'll maybe go to 4 or 5 live games throughout a year, but I don't ever really just watch on TV other than highlights. So I don't know.
Well, I know you don't miss our show, and so we've talked about it in our show. Never mind.
Well, he was trying to do a funny there, Grant.
You weren't on the team, but Ray Emery, who's a good friend of yours, fought Andrew Peters in 2007. I'm curious of your reaction since you had fought Andrew Peters so many times.
Well, first of all, I should have been dressed that game. I don't know how I wasn't dressed. It's still, yeah. Anyways, but if there was one guy, a goalie in the league to ever fight, that's one guy you wouldn't have to worry about fighting a heavyweight. I mean, other than the goalie you're getting in his way and not being able to move, he's a pretty good fighter.
Yeah.
But I was more surprised I was not dressed that game. That was healthy scratch. I was a healthy scratch that game. Then I dressed the next game, the next home game. I think would have been within a couple weeks after that happened in Buffalo. But Nealer absolutely murdered Drury too. Oh my God, that's what started all that.
Yes.
Was Nealer murdered Drury with his head down. And then the next shift, they put out Adam Mayer, Peters. I don't know who else would have been out with them on the line, but that's the next shift. They went all and jumped Spez and Peter and stuff after Nealer cranked Drury. Yeah.
It was, and that was where the Brian Murray and Lindy Ruff are going at it over the glass, which was iconic.
Yeah.
So you hockey fights has you listed at 39 fights the year in the AHL, where you had 551 penalty minutes, which is a record. I can't even fathom it to begin with. I think you said that was 42 fights. So I'm gonna defer to you on that. I can't fathom you fighting that much in a season. On top of that, I think you fought the Vandermeer brothers in the same game, if I'm not mistaken.
Twice in one brawl. I fought both of them in one brawl. and that Philly team, because back in the minors in the early 2000s, it was loaded. Like your fourth line was heavyweights.
Yeah.
and Philly was always loaded. Philly had Craig Berube was on that team.
Was he?
Came out, Cheap was on them. He came out the next shift. There was a line brawl the next shift, and all those guys got kicked out. We had the big brawl. That was like the famous one, because that's where the goalie jumped into the pile, and that's where the headlines came from that one, because that's when Neil Little flew over everybody into the pile like Superman. But the next shift was like Craig Berube and I forget who else was on there, but they had on that team, I think they had 5 or 6. Todd Fedoruk was on that team.
Oh boy!
All those guys were on the bench, like licking their lips to get into the one I was in, and I was the only heavyweight on Binghamton. Oh. Yeah, so it was hard in the minors that year going in, completely outgunned, and that's why I had so many fights, because you'd go into Albany, they had 4 guys. You would go into Syracuse, they had 3 guys. Wilkes-Barre had Dennis Bondby and a couple other guys, and it was me and a younger guy, Danny Bois, that year, and he was out a junior. He was a tough kid, but not a heavyweight by any means. So that's why I had so many fights. And then the other part of me was like, if I have, a really good year like this, then the Senators are going to have no choice but to put me on the roster when this lockout ends. So that was the other reason behind all that.
So Friday, you're playing in the minors. You play 3 and 3s, right? You're playing Friday,
3 and 3
Saturday,
every weekend,
Sunday.
and usually in the second half it's 4 and 5. So you're playing Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh, your hands must have been so sore.
Murdered. And you only play you play the same teams a lot too, right? So that Binghamton division at the time was, every team in that division was loaded with fighters. not like that anymore. Like when I was working with the Flames and player development, and even when I finished in San Diego, I finished in the minors in San Diego, and it was like, man, it was a lot easier. and just watching, being in the development role for 5 years and watching the American League now compared to what it was when I was there, it's not as.
Gratz, you would have fit in really nice. 1992 Adirondack Red Wings on my team. I had 4 guys that were fighting each other to fight the other team's players. Every game it was a contest. It was Denny Viel, it was Jim Cummins. We had this guy that never played, Kirk Tomlinson, pound for pound, one of the toughest guys. These guys were just beauties. The American League, I'm with you. That used to be a really, really tough league to play in.
Yeah, and I mean, and when you're fighting and doing that stuff in that league, and you're fighting in front of 300, 400, 500 people, it's a lot different than 20,000.
Yeah.
So, like, the way you would have to get ready and focus for those and be ready for that, I mean, it's a lot different too. And the reason I felt I was NHL ready and did so well in the NHL is that I thought the guys in the minors were tougher. They just couldn't play as well as the NHL guys.
Yeah,
a lot of the guys I fought for 3 years, and some of those guys kicked my ass. Like Brandon Sugden kicked my ass for 2 years. I couldn't beat him for 2 years, and then the third year I went on a tear, and the guys in the minors at the time when I came in, I felt a handful of them were tougher than the NHL, the top NHL guys. As you know, Yorkie, those guys would come to the camps that you were at, and you played in the minors a little bit. You would see those guys, right? I mean, some of those guys, I mean, they're okay in a straight line. You throw in a turn there, and it's over, right? But they could throw, they can fill in a role in the minors where they would play half the games in 3-4 minutes a night and be the ultimate. Some of those guys were really tough. Really tough. Yeah.
The one guy I mentioned to you, Kirk Tomlinson, I love this guy. I played junior with him, one of the best guys ever. He came to camp. I don't know what he was doing, but the year before he was 170. He came in at 205. He did his physical, like, you're going right down to the minors. And then he just went on a tear, fought everybody and didn't lose. Man, what a good dude.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what it was like. You mentioned like fighting in front of thousands at the Canadian Tire Center where it's sold out. It would be Scotiabank Arena at the time, I suppose. What it was like for the adrenaline for you, being like you were the main event for 2 years in Ottawa, really.
Yeah. It was. That was cool. I mean, it was cool, and it was staying humble in that too. Was hard. I mean, because I had a pretty good run. Like I beat a lot of top guys, and then had a target on my back. And you have to be ready. Like I said, you have to be ready every game. And there's some games you're not as ready as you were the week before, and those games are the hard ones. And you have to be, and not only that, being able to produce on short amount of ice time, playing 5 to 6, 7 minutes. That's a lot harder than playing 15, 16 minutes because you're not getting a regular shift. You get one shift. Right. And then you might not get another shoot. It could be a stretch of penalties. A lot of fourth line guys, unless you're a penalty killer, don't get a lot of extra special teams time. So if you catch a string of penalties, and like the game is now, like, man, sometimes you just touch a guy now. You could be sitting there for 5, 6, 7 minutes, and a lot of the line matching and stuff. So you're going 5, 6, 7 minutes between shifts. That's not easy. And then I'll throw on the fact that there's a guy that's 6'8" over there, 265 pounds, that I'm going to have to fight at some point during this game. So that's not easy either.
Yeah, because you're sitting there, Gratz, and you're mentally. And the only reason I know is because my last year I played as the 60, and I was playing some nights 8 to 10 minutes as a defenseman.
That's like 4 or 5 as a forward.
It's awful, right? Gratz. Awful. So like you can't. Your legs aren't into it. Your brain's not into it. It's an art form to be able to go out and perform when you're getting 6 minutes. People don't understand how tough it is.
Your legs are stiff, whatever. You have to do what you can between periods to keep your body loose. And like I said, for me, I had the other element too, where I'm getting stiff. I haven't played, and I know there's a guy over there. that at some point tonight, I'm going to be fighting that guy. And to be ready and physically ready and mentally ready for that was another challenge on top of everything of, the stress and the anxiety of playing in the NHL and performing enough to being able to keep a spot and staying there and knowing all the systems and all the game stuff and who your line mates are and doing all that. And then on top, fighting a guy like George Laraque, right? So yeah, I would say arguably the hardest position in the history of sports. I don't think there was a harder position than an NHL enforcer. In every way, I don't think there's a harder position than the true enforcer, just with everything that you would have to deal with.
Congrats, just like mentally what the guys go through when they're done. It's so tough.
Yeah.
Do you remember one of these picks that just went through is fighting Brad Brown, which is a preseason game. The only reason I bring this up, Brownie's a neighbor of ours and he always watches or listens to the show. And so I sent him the pictures. I go, do you remember this fight? And he goes, it was in preseason because Gratz had been beating up all the Leafs the year before. Do you remember this fight?
Yeah. He split me too. He split me in the eye too. Yeah, it was a good fight. I think that fight was around center ice too. That was in Toronto. That was one of our last preseason games.
He was a tough.
He's a tough guy. Yeah, you know what? I think I bumped into him at some of these events. Yeah.
Hey, why does Brownie's head, did it grow or something? It looks way smaller in that picture. It's massive. It's Gratz. You should see Brownie now. He's got a massive pumpkin.
There was a picture there of Dennis Bonvie, and I know he speaks very highly of you. Can you just comment on what Dennis Bonvie has meant to your career?
Yeah, I don't think I know I wouldn't have had the career I had I not played with Dennis. And there's a pic of us fighting there. That's when he got traded to Colorado / Hershey. But coming in to the Sens on a PTO on a rookie camp invite only. And that's the decision. That's the time I decided to try this fighting thing out because I knew I had to stand out. So it was a last chance for me. I was 20 years old, and there were a couple injuries at training camp that year, which some guys had to stay up, which gave me the opportunity to go down to Binghamton and somewhat carve out a spot early on, and for Dennis to take me aside and work with me, weekly, prepping me and training me basically as the guy to take a spot. I mean, I credit my entire career to him. He taught me everything I know at a young age because Dennis was a small guy.
Yeah.
So Dennis would show me how to fight as a big guy with all the knowledge he had of fighting guys my size on what to do and how to use your strengths. I wasn't that good. In the first year in Binghamton, I got my ass kicked a lot. And actually Wade Belak's brother, I had a very hard time with him, man. And he kicked my ass he played in Bridgeport. And I flat out said to the boys, I'm like, man, if this guy gets me again, I don't know, man. This role might not be for me. And I tied him and Bridgeport one night and kind of turned the tides of my mental thinking. But Dennis was he was the teacher, the ultimate teacher. And I credit my entire career to him for teaching me the ropes on how to do this job, and not only do the job and learn from it and learn from your strengths and how to be a 6'4" fighter, but also the mental side of it and what it takes on the mental side and how to approach it coming to the rink each day, winning, losing, especially when you take a bad loss. He was always in my corner and still was in my corner playing in the NHL. I'd win and lose fights. I'd lose a fight and I'd get a text from him. Keep your fucking head up. Yeah. And we still stay in contact to this day. I talked to Dennis a couple weeks ago. He's doing a fantastic job. He's the director of pro scouting for the Boston Bruins.
That's right.
Dennis we just had him on the show.
He's had a hell of a career post hockey. He's done a fantastic job and a couple. He was in Chicago for a long time. Won a couple cups, and then we're doing this thing with Boston for the last. He's been there for a while, and So I saw him once last year, so it was but we do stay in contact, yeah. So, but in saying that, I would not had the career I had I not played with Dennis.
I want to get back to Ottawa for 1 sec, but I just want to get to this one picture. You scored 10 goals in your career? So how in Boston did you ever get the number 87?
I know. I went there on a PTO. I went there on a PTO, and then I saw that number hanging in my stall, and I was like, really? Because as you guys know, Yorkie, as when you come in as a tryout, you get the football numbers. And I knew I was going to have a tough number, but that one, I was like, come on, boys. Let's wake up a little bit here. Right?
Could they not done 86?
That's good.
That one made me laugh.
Funny. I never knew that. That's funny.
Yeah. I was there for a short time, so I went there on the PTO. Ended up making the team. It was the year they won the cup, actually, and made the team out of training camp. And that's when they used to do the NHL Premier games in Europe.
Yep.
And so went with the team to Europe, and then came back, and then was in Boston for maybe 5 or 6 weeks, and went down to Providence and did my thing in the minors and crawled my way back up for another 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Your time in Ottawa, I'll just simply ask. It just seemed like it was a wild time. I'll say off ice wild. Will you divulge any info of what it was like being a member of the Sens back in those days?
Yeah, I mean, we had good teams. I think we should have won. We had really good teams, and the best teams I played on my career. Yeah. And the fan base was amazing. I thought, and hopefully it gets back to what it was, because that rink used to be rocking, and the fans were awesome there. And I'll never forget going to, that cup run and going into the finals and having thousands of people lined up on that road coming back from the airport.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was wild.
I mean, and having those teams and those high scoring teams like that, we used to rock that place. And hopefully those days are coming back for this team, because I think they have a fantastic core there. And hopefully they got the goalie thing sorted out, because brought in, seems to be a pretty good goalie.
Yeah,
I think they have a core that teams would drool over there, those guys.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully they can start putting it all together and start competing for either to win that division and then start competing for the big prize, because I think that core is just as good as the one when I was there. And they can't use the young excuse anymore, because those guys aren't young anymore. They're not 18, 19. Those guys have all been in the league 3, 4, 5 years. So that young excuse and the inexperience, that's out the window. Now it's time to start, adding the support players around them, the right veterans around them, which I think they've done. So they were a surprising team to me last year. I was kind of bummed, because I thought last year would be a playoff year for sure.
A lot of people did. A lot of people did.
So I was more that was one of the more surprising teams to me, was the Sens. Yeah. But hopefully this year, with those guys, I love that core that they have.
How much did sorry, Gratz, how much did that group back in the 05, 06, 06, 07 want to win?
Of course we wanted to win. Of course we wanted to win. I thought that Anaheim series, what hurt us going into that was the break. We were on fire, and we had like a 10 or 11 day break.
Yep. You rolled through the first 3 rounds.
We lost our steam. That cooled us down. That break hurt us. And then the Sammy Paulson, Niedermeyer, and Travis, who was it? Travis Mullen?
Oh, Travis Mullen.
Yeah. That line ate our top guys.
Yeah.
That line won them the cup. Those guys were good, but that break hurt us.
Yeah, it was tough, because I had covered the team.
But I thought we had a better team the year before.
05, 06.
I thought we had a better team the year before. And, I think the Hasek thing of that, I don't even know what the injury was, to be honest.
The adductor.
At the end of the day, that was Ray did a good job coming in as a rookie goalie, but had we had Hasek with that, whatever that injury was, had he not had that, I think, that could have been a different year. But I think that was a distraction for after the Olympics. And you know what? Buffalo had a good team, man. But we went toe-to-toe with Buffalo there for 2 or 3 years as a team, two top teams in the East. So at the end of the day, Buffalo had just as good a team too. But I think we had the better team the year before we went to the finals.
Were you shocked watching him in practice and not playing? Because we would watch him every day and he would make saves. And you're like, okay, he looks good to go. And then it's like, nope, can't play.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, he's one of the more I would say probably one of the weirdest guys I came across in this game.
Yeah, I don't think you're shocking anyone.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's too bad. Were you disappointed that you never got to play in a playoff game?
Not really. I got to play on teams that went to play. I went to play on a team that went to a playoff final. I got to play in the NHL for 10 years. So even being on an NHL roster on deep playoff runs or playoff teams, I got to do what a lot of people don't, that start to play this game, that have had the same dreams as me to get there, and just being on an NHL roster at that time of year, there's a 99.9% failure rate to get there, and I made it, and I was one of them. So, would it have been nice? Yes, but just being able and being around it, especially that cup run in Ottawa, that's something even though we didn't win, I can just imagine if we won, but even we didn't win, and those are memories that'll stick with me forever.
I don't want to keep you. I know it's been long. I'm so we never got a chance to speak after you went into rehab, and you were very open about it and how you've now turned around and helped a lot of people. Because there are a lot of people I know that you've contacted and quietly. The way that you've been able to rebuild your life, I think it's been phenomenal. And I just think
thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Yeah, I take a lot of pride, and I take a lot of pride in the odd time I get to tell my story. I take a lot of pride in that because you never know who's listening, and the right person could really hit home with them and really help someone and help turn their life around.
Did it take someone to come to you, or is it you just said enough? I need.
Well, it was just enough. Yeah, it was just enough, man. It was enough. Same old kind of spiral. Same old, and not being able to get out of it, and a tough time where mental health and all that stuff was not the talking point where it is now.
Yeah.
So,
that's crazy,
and being one of the earlier guys to come out and share my story early on through recovery and being, a recovering player in the NHL, and being able to share my story gave other guys, the strength and the power to do it themselves. And as you see, there's more and more guys coming out each year, going into the player assistance program and getting the help that they need and coming out. And a lot of guys do have a strong voice coming out on, of their experience and wanting to help players, and not only players, wanting to help people in general. Because near the end of my career, I would use my NHL platform to get my message across, because we are on a pretty big stage. I played 2 Canadian markets, and when I was in Calgary, I used that NHL platform / fame, if you want to call it, to get my mental health message across to help people. So, and there's other guys doing that too. So at the end of the day, I'm so grateful to be able to do that.
Gratz, I played with Jordan Tutu in Nashville. One of my favorite,
one of the best
teammates.
Yeah,
he's one of the best.
Yeah.
You guys are tight, eh?
Yeah, one of the best. Yeah, I played with Toots for a year and a bit there, and hell of a story, hell of a career, hell of a person. Yeah,
Love that guy.
Yeah,
we actually spoke to him last year. He saw me, ran into some guys, sent me a message, talked for a while.
Awesome.
It's just so good to hear from him, and he's turned his life around, and just a good.
Yeah,
great story.
he's awesome. Yeah.
All right,
listen, man, Gratz, we really appreciate you coming on, man. This was great coming. So stories were awesome, and really nice you to spend some time with us.
Sweet boys.
I enjoyed our
Thanks for
chats.
having me.
Yeah, it was good to sit in the locker room back in those days. Just
you
were one of the good ones. Thanks, my
brother.
friend.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, thanks for having me, Yorkie. See you at the next event.
See you soon, buddy.
See you, boys.
There goes Brian McGrattan, who, but we talk about the stars of the game, like Crosby and all that. Like he was the star of being a heavyweight. He was
champ for a while, and it's a tough road, right? And he just like Gretz didn't really hit on it that much, but those guys, I played right in that era where those guys, even guys before Gratz, like the Bob Proberts and the Joey Koshers and the like Domi and Troy Crowder and geez, the list goes
Kelly
on.
Chase.
Todd Ewan, Stu Grimson, good friend of mine. They're such good guys, and a lot of those guys they go through so much. It's mental anguish, and Gratz laid it out perfectly. When you're sitting on the bench like that, and you're waiting, and it's like Gladiator. You're fighting in a stadium in front of 20,000. It's a lot of pressure. But man, he's just got, like I said, I told you this before. I got to know Gratz the last couple of years. What a great guy! So much time for him, and it's great to see him helping other people with what he's went through. He's a good human.
He's always said that after getting clean and sober, that he could fight better. Everything was so much better for him, just like on the ice.
Yeah.
There was the question of, were you worried that you weren't going to be as good a fighter? And he's like, no, in fact, I could breathe better. Everything was clear. Like, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, I could have chatted for him for another.
We could have went. We could have kept going, but that was great. That was one of our best. I like that.
Well, yeah. So hopefully he'll now answer my text messages.
Well, we'll see. Like baby steps here. Well, come on. I get
quickly, I know you got to get back to the beach or pickleball. I don't know, whatever you got to do.
I'm good. It's American Thanksgiving. Laurel and I are going for some kind of turkey dinner in the hotel later tonight. Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
8 p.m. reso. So a little.
Oh, that's late. That's late. I'm a 5:30. Got to get it in and out.
You like the early bird, don't you?
Quickly, here's the trivia question for today. I'll deal with it over the weekend. Is who did Brian McGrattan score his first goal on? The goalie, not the team. The goalie. Who did Brian McGrattan score his first goal on? Yorkie, we're back Monday next week. If all goes well, we have the 12. Oh, Eric, I shouldn't even bring this up. We're working on it. The 12 days of Christmas. We're handing out 12 straight days of prizes, if you will. So that's coming next week. Lots of stuff coming up, actually, Yorkie. And by the way, don't forget, we have tickets for the Detroit game we will be giving away, which is the Pizza Line reunion. So tune in next week.
All right.
Safe travels, Yorkie.
I got a few more days here in the sunshine, and I will see you, and I'll see everybody else on Monday.
All right. See you, everybody. Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to Coming In Hot. If you enjoyed the show, hit that like button and be sure to subscribe to never miss an episode.